Now, I want to say something to my friend Eddie Trunk. I love Eddie Trunk. However, Eddie Trunk has been going on the air, and he has been going on and on that every retirement announcement is BS because everybody punks out and returns. Now, he's got a point because the Scorpions retired and came back. Ozzy retired and came back. Motley Crue retired and came back. Judas Priest retired and came back. Kiss retired and came back. The Who retired and came back. He is right there. However, he thinks this is all a ploy to sell tickets. Now, this is what I don't understand. Because if Dave was going on a 2-year world tour, I could say, all right, Eddie, I got you. He's playing the retirement card to kind of cash in his chips, but 5 shows at a small venue? I don't quite understand that. Dave could sell out those shows, no problem. Dave's also not a guy who cries wolf. Plus, he has plenty of money. To be honest, I think these are shows that are left over from his old 2020 residency contract with the House of Blues at Mandalay Bay. I think he probably owes them those shows, and he's doing those shows. Now, why they're his last shows might be something that's a little, more cagey. You know what I'm saying? It's a little more hidden in that way. So what do you think, Dave?
Well, that's a good question. I definitely think Dave knows it doesn't hurt that if he makes that announcement, he's going to sell out the shows. Is it going to make or break it for those 5 shows that are not in a huge venue? No, probably not. But it guarantees a sellout. Is Dave going to be hitting the road after that? I don't know. I don't think so. But you just listed a whole bunch of bands, like this is the last one, and then they came out again. I mean, Kiss goes out on their farewell tour annually. So, right? I mean, it gets ridiculous. But I don't know. From the tone of Dave's announcement, I have a feeling that this is really the last time we'll see him in a live setting. I mean, will he do a one-off show here or there? Jump on stage with somebody as a guest star? Maybe. But, I think this is it. Again, love to be wrong. But I don't know. Like you, I feel like he's not bluffing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he goes on to his next statement as to what he's preparing. And this is a little more lighthearted, but it's a little more chest-pounding here.
I got a band that's doing what Al and I used to call a block. That means 75 rehearsals for one show. The warm-up for one somersault is the same for 10. So we're going to bring it in classic VH style. Alex and I are the only version. That was his message. There is no other variation. There is no torch being passed. There is no other side of this heads-up tail coin. This is classic, in-your-face Van Halen, and we're going to be playing to you for the rest of your time and your great-grandchildren's.
Dave is said to have been rehearsing at the Roxy with his band featuring Al Estrada on guitar. Now, this whole Alex and I are the only version in the message thing here, and there's no other variation when he says there's no torch being passed. I'm wondering if that's a dig at Mike and Sam. Because Mike and Sam have been going around and saying, kind of like, we're, waving the flag, which they are for the Van Hagar version. But it seems like he's saying this band dies with us. And Ed, of course, Ed's already gone. But I think when he says we're going to be playing to you for the rest of your time and your grandchildren's, I think he means the music will live on. However, the crazies on the internet somehow are taking that Alex is playing drums for him. Where are they getting this, Dave?
Well, I got to tell you, I was confused by that statement, too.
Oh, really?
Because I think I reached out to you that day, and I was like, is he saying that Al is playing with him? It was another Dave vague statement.
Yeah.
I mean, so much so that some news outlets were reporting
all over the place.
Al was playing with Dave.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't think Al's playing with Dave at all.
No.
And then the question was, well, is Al going to show up at the last show? And I wouldn't hold my breath for that either.
Right.
Again, when you're a little vague and it's Bozy Bop time,
right,
it leads people to start guessing things, and you don't want that. So that, I was confused by it, so I could see how that could be an issue, whether Al was going to be there or not. And yes, I do think it is, I don't know if I would call it a dig at Sam and Mike, but it's definitely more of a, listen, this is the version of Van Halen that counts, that matters. This is the only one you need to worry about, and this is the one that's going to live on. But the funny part is Sam and Mike, until they announce their retirement, are the ones going out there, at least on a semi-regular basis, and playing Van Halen. Nobody else is, aside from these handful of shows that Dave is doing. Wolf isn't, Al isn't, Gary, please, right? So, I mean, like, nobody else is.
Right.
So why are you putting in that dig when the two guys who haven't been in the band in years are the ones playing the music? I mean, like, give me a break. Leave them alone.
Yeah, there's no reason anybody should bother either one of them for that. That's insane, especially when they're not even touching the same catalog. It is.
No,
I mean,
you're right. It's not like there's a crossover.
Right.
I mean, come on now.
There's not one song, not one, that's a crossover. They are literally considering it the Van Hagar years. In fact, for Christ's sake, they're calling themselves Van Hagar the other half on Instagram. I mean, how much more line in the sand do you need? Anyway, we're getting to the last statement here, and this is how Dave wraps up.
Gave you all I had to give. It's been an amazing, great run. No regrets. Nothing to say about anybody. I miss y'all. Stay frosty.
Regardless of what Eddie Trunk says, I have never heard a rock star resign in this manner. It just might be Dave's most sincere, heartfelt moment of his career, and I sincerely hope he's okay to live, but it is very curious coming from a guy who lives to perform. So it's very, very interesting. We will follow this. What I'd like to know, Dave, if this is his last 5 shows, okay, that's great. Are we going to do a live stream of the last show? Because obviously it's a small venue. Not many Van Halen fans can get to that, us included, but it makes sense to put that up as a live stream with the technology that we had today. It would totally make sense that Van Halen fans around the world could live stream Dave's show for $20 or $30 or whatever it's going to be. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Or somebody's got to do a documentary or something about it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great idea. What happened?
Really?
Dave, they just don't. Dave, they don't think that way.
I know.
They don't think that way.
It's just sad.
Dave knew when he played with Ed for the last time that was the last show.
Yeah.
Or it was very likely that was going to be the last show.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Was anything put out for that? No.
Well, let's be honest, though. It would have been very premature to just officially say that was the last show. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was it even recorded? I mean, the audio, I'm sure, was recorded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But was there any video done? I don't think so.
The whole goddamn thing is on YouTube, which
unofficially.
Unofficially, right.
And unofficially, Dave's will be there too.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, but what it should be live stream in the moment is what it should be. But anyway, Eddie Trunk loves to go on and chew on that mic. So what he does is, we talked about this back when I saw Dave open for Kiss, right? So this is like early 2020, before the pandemic. Dave was putting out these kind of fun, old-timey posters where it said, "The last tour ever, unless it isn't." It looked almost something like you'd see in a theme park. Like it was sort of like a circus kind of looking poster that obviously someone did in Photoshop for him on his team. And it's a picture of Dave jumping in the air in one of his, flashy outfits, whatever. It looked very cool. And he was using that to kind of, play around, So now Eddie Trunk is now thinking this is like a fresh poster. Dave reposted the poster, and it's shots from him from, I think that those pictures were taken in the fall of 2019 or something like that. So the funny thing is Eddie Trunk thought like, oh, Dave's winking at us. He's telling us this is really not the last tour. By the way, 5 shows is not a tour. I mean, he's doing 5 shows at the House of Blues. That's not exactly a tour.
It's a residency is what it is.
Yeah, it's a residency. It's a short one for that. But there's no indication that he's going on after this. There's no indication that Alex is going to be playing drums. But one thing that people got a real kick out of was in Dave's A Little Ain't Enough video from 1991. Dave resurrected the character where he's in a fat suit, or I guess it wasn't really the Picasso brother guy. It was Dave as an old man, and it showed his birthday, October 10th, 2021, and it was saying like the absolute last tour kind of thing, and it was him coming out of his like space pod kind of like hovercraft, and he comes out with girls and he's all fat. So it was really kind of funny. And the funny thing is that the date was just days away from this announcement, and people were like, did Dave predict his retirement 30 years earlier? So everybody's having fun with that. I think that's just a coincidence. What do you think?
You never know with Dave, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But it was pretty close. I remember there was a guy, I think his name is also Dave, from VH Links, who pointed that out. And I was like, oh, man. Like, I completely forgot about that. But other people have better memories than me. And I was like, wow, I really wonder if it was just a coincidence or, like, Dave knew it was close enough. But I was like, wow, it's almost coming true.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It was a little too accurate.
It really was.
Is what it was.
It really was.
Yeah.
That's true. So now, more news on Dave. On top of this, he released a third song from his California Sessions album. God knows when the hell that's going to come out. But it's called Low Res Sunset, and here's a clip.
Low res sunset, live this life of luxury. Low res sunset, drifting out to sea. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you cry, baby, baby, don't say goodbye.
So as you can tell, this has got a real beachy vibe, very Jack Johnson kind of thing. It's kind of hazy and tropical. You know, not real similar to Dave's normal vibe, but it's almost like the Coconut Grove side of Dave from the Crazy from the Heat EP. Acoustic bass, it's really got a nice groove and vibe to it, that's for sure. The video to it has Dave's hand drawings. You see the frogs from his Soggy Bottom cartoon, and he even animates himself, and it's really kind of fun. What do you think of this song?
I liked it. There was a nice chorus to it, nice background vocals.
Yep.
You're right. It has that nice beachy vibe.
Yep.
Kind of reminiscent of Black Sand.
Yes, very much like Black Sand. You're right. Good point.
Yeah. So I did like it. It was another nice acoustic departure for Dave.
Mm-hmm.
You asked when do you think this album's going to come out? I don't think the album's ever going to come out. I
Really?
think he's just going to release a song like every 8 months or so, and he'll just do that until he doesn't have any more songs to release.
Well, if he's retiring, though, why not release the album? Like, what are you going to do? I mean...
Actually, I agree with you. Now that he's announced his retirement, he could put out this album and say, this is my last album.
Yeah.
That's the best PR you could get. I agree with you. Too bad Van Halen never does things the way, you would think they would be done.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you remember, though, he's not retiring from the road. He's retiring. He never said from touring. He said, I'm retiring, which means like no more recording, no more anything. Like, Dave, he disappears. He goes underground. So I'm curious to see, do you think like we're never going to hear from Dave after January? Or do you think he's just going to go underground and that's going to be it? Or what do you think?
I don't know. He might do something else, and we'll hear about it years later, like when he was an EMT,
right.
Or we found out, well, maybe not after the fact, maybe during and after the fact, he went to Japan and was studying in Japan. He'll probably do something like that really interests him.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out about, maybe we won't.
Yep. We'll see. Another surprise move from Dave. This guy's full of surprises. He's reissuing his 2003 Diamond Dave album. But the weird thing is he's reissuing on 180-gram vinyl, which is going to come in black or pink. And there's going to be no new tracks added to it, but it's going to have a nice gatefold packaging. And he's also re-releasing the CD version, which is also going to have kind of a gatefold wallet-sized attraction. And he's altering the cover, Dave. I never thought the cover was great. I always thought it was real cheesy, kind of slapped together. Looks like something a 7th grader would do in, one of his tech classes or something like that. It was, I don't know, it really wasn't good. But this has got like a nice sharp picture of him. If you look at the photo, it's very reminiscent of something from the No Holds Barred barbecue with that neon coloring, and his hair is like long and like white. You know, it's like almost like that white blonde, like there.
Yeah, that was not a good look for him.
Not a good look, but he was sporting it anyway. And now I happen to like that album. We haven't discussed that album yet. We're gonna definitely get into that one. This is an album that has a lot of his covers. So he's got songs like Soul Kid,